myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. It feels alright.
Welcome along to...
that was good. I like that.
Welcome along to the True Crime Podcast, and it's a while since I've been able to say that. I've had a bit of time off since my mum passed away in May, so it's great to be able to say that I'm back doing these, and great to welcome my good friend Quincey, aka QBE, as you can see there in his name and title. Now, Quincey and I were introduced via a mutual acquaintance during lockdown. We had him on the show a couple of times when Newcastle and Arsenal were doing a lot worse in the Premier League. Quincey,
yeah, we did. Yami B, big up Yami B as well. I spoke to him yesterday.
Yeah, big up to Yami B, mate. Thank you for the introduction to Quincey, and hope you're doing well, mate. And everybody's asking after you from up here. But this podcast obviously isn't about football. I'm sure we'll touch on it at the end. It's about your life story, Quincey. And during lockdown, I remember back end of 2020, you went on to James English's podcast, and I remember watching that. And I'd obviously chatted to you prior to you going on there, and it was. Fascinating story. We only have an hour on our True Crime podcast, so I'm not going to cover everything that James did, but I would just like to touch on where you started out. Where were you born? Where were you raised?
Well, I was born in a place called Kennerton, which is a couple miles down the road from Brixton. When I was born, my dad wasn't around due to him having a mental breakdown, so he went. I just didn't ever meet him. I didn't ever meet him until I was older. But yeah, we was in Kennerton, and then our house burnt down. So when our house burnt down, we moved to I moved in with my aunt, and we lived in Stockholm for a while. And then my mum got her own place in Clapham. So I started off basically being able to remember my upbringing was in a place called Clapham, and that is another, say, a mile from Brixton. So it was raised there, me, my mum, and my little sister. And yeah, it was fine. You felt love, it was just normal upbringing. I didn't know anything else. So it was my mum looking after us, and it just felt good. There was no issues. And then obviously my mum met a man called Vincent, which is my stepdad. And the vibe kind of changed from there. As in I don't know. I can't say it was a dark cloud. I don't know what it was, but the feeling was just different. Like before we used to have fun in the house, just me and my sister, and even my mum, going to my aunt's house and stuff like that, and being around the rest of the family. But when he came, all of that stopped. Like my aunts and that weren't allowed to our house. To see my other little cousins, like we was just kind of shut off from everything. It was like he just kind of like enclosed us in his world. So that's the first time I realized something was drastically changing in our life. The second part was really when the security gates went up on the walls and around the house. So we lived on an estate. We was the only house that had like large fencing. It's like a prison. Like large fencing around. Like if you came on the estate, it's the only house that looks like that. Like the fences were as high as prison gates. It was high. And then metal doors, metal cages on the windows. Yeah, that's when you knew that there was something different going on. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
From your perspective, mate, what was school like? I mean, were you going to school?
Yeah, I was going to school. I used to walk to school by myself. I used to I used to walk to school with my sister. But on the way to school, when you cross the road, there was always a group of lads on the corner. So when I grew up to understand a bit more, I realized that was a local gang that I would later join, like the Clapham branch of the 28s. Yeah. So every time I used to walk to school, I used to walk past them. At first, when you're walking past them at first, it's a bit daunting. Do you know what I mean? When you're a young boy, you look across the road, they're big, they're loud, boisterous on the corner. Now, you tend to not want to meet eyes with them, but, you're still like, you're still mesmerized by them, you know, like their energy and that, and the way, because it's, remember, I don't really have when I never had my dad, obviously the stepdad's in the house, but you don't really see him. You see him in the morning, he comes in at night, by that time you're in bed. So this was the kind of first kind of mirror of how boys act, bigger boys act, when I was walking across the road. So, you know, like you look at the clothes, the trainers, you see they got little jewelry on, and you don't want to make eye contact with them, but you do take a quick gaze and then you just keep it moving. Some of them were in my school, but in the higher year in my school, in the what was it called? What would it be called again? What's the two sections again?
Like the senior school.
Yeah, there's two sections, isn't it? Like there's the big boys' playground and the little boys' playground.
Yeah, I've got you, mate. Yeah. You
know what I mean, innit? Yeah, so they was in the big boys' playground side, and obviously I was in the younger side playground. So yeah, school was fine. I used to learn stuff. I wasn't a slow learner. I was quite good at learning, but I always used to get into little bits of mischief, like little fights and stuff. I remember one fight I had. I think it was with this guy called Damien, and I remember I beat him up so badly that in the assembly, when we were sitting down in the assembly, the teachers told him to stand up and told me to stand up, and they said, look what this Quincey's done to this boy. We will not accept this, blah blah blah. And you know what? Yeah, that was one of the most embarrassing times that I can remember. You know, like when I beat him up, I felt good, like macho. But when they done that to me and made me stand up in front of the whole assembly, I was embarrassed. I'll never forget the embarrassment that I felt. But yeah, so from there, had a few other fights. Bear in mind, the embarrassment didn't stop me from fighting. So I still had a few fights. And then I think the last fight I had was when I think I moved over into the adults playground, and then my sister came around one time and told me that one of the guys over there pushed her or something, or said something to her. So I told her to show me, and when she went me to the playground, because it's a football court, she showed me it was him. So I went over there, but I realized it was the two. They were twins, Tyrone Kende, right? They were two of the boys that was on that corner. You know, the corner that I had to cross the street for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw it was them, obviously I had a brief moment of pausing. But because she had tears in her eyes and that, it's like it made me cry. And when I cried, when I get angry, I used to cry. So after steamed into the playground, I threw myself at him. But obviously, he's thrown me over to the side, and his brothers coming and throw me to the side. I'm still trying to fight, but they slapped me up a bit and they told me to behave myself. But I was still trying to fight them. But from then, I think the next week when I went to school, they saw me, and I was gonna walk the long way, and they told me, "Nah, come." So I came, and from there they said, "Yeah, you're a brave little boy. You know, we like you. You get me? You should come and chill with us sometimes." And then I think that's the first time that I got acquainted with other boys.
Yeah.
Because they liked my enthusiasm, basically. And then I think that's how my line with gang culture actually started, through that personal invite from them.
Yeah, it's a combination of things, you know, lack of having your dad, you know, the stepdad coming in, and then the security around the house, and then ultimately experiences at school and you know, your first taste of violence. It all starts to add together as a big mix, which leads you onto that side of the track. So tell us about your first crime that you committed.
At one point you just showed me, though, when you just made me connect that all together, you just made me hit something in my head that I didn't think about. Mm-hmm. I'll be so quick, so we move, because we got to move on.
No, you go on.
Yeah. The anger of what was going on inside my house, the happiness I'd left, now I've got anger inside me. That made me go to school and have bare fights and have this rage inside me. And that rage brought me to them boys. That's the connection.
Yeah, 100%.
So like you said, it's all linked together. Because if I didn't have that rage in that house, I might not have went to that playground and thought to myself, I'm gonna throw myself in that lion's den against them two. Even though it was my sister, I might have fought more, or maybe tried to talk to them. I tried to fight them, which I had no way of winning. But I probably didn't care about myself at the time. So, yeah.
I think that's why, you know, whenever I've done these podcasts with people, Quincy, that, you know, I do start at the beginning, because I think that way you do grasp sometimes, like you just had a moment of discovery there. I think sometimes, you know, it takes speaking to somebody else, you know, out loud to suddenly realize that's the connection. And trauma is a big thing. I think every former, you know, prisoner, convict, criminal, who has turned their life around, who I've had a conversation with, has been through some kind of trauma. And even the big names, you know, that I've had on the show, or who I've got to know over the years. Paul Ferris, the wee man in Scotland, suffered trauma as a youngster, was bullied. Freddie Foreman, obviously from London, from South London, who you know went on to become probably one of the most notorious gangsters and criminals in London, who suffered trauma as a youngster. He was a World War II baby, but obviously saw dead bodies in the street and stuff like that. It's trauma, and it does play its part. And I think a lot of people used to say, can you be born naughty? Well, maybe some people do have bad genes, but ultimately, I think it comes from the experience as a youngster, Quincy.
What do you say is bad genes, though?
Yeah, exactly. But some people say bad genes can create it. I mean, you know, I think what you'd sometimes find is that there can be obsession, like let's say an obsession within a human being. I've recently watched Dahmer, which fair enough is a dramatization of the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer in America. But if you look into that story, his dad actually suffered mental health issues when he was a child. Now, he suppressed them and didn't go on to kill anybody. But as a hobby with Jeffrey Dahmer as a kid, he would collect roadkill from the side of the road, and as a hobby, he would dissect it with Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, you add that to the fact that this guy has you know, a mental health issue, which it looks very likely that he passed that on to Jeffrey Dahmer, along with showing him how to dissect things. And then the inevitable split between him and his wife, which caused him to leave. It all seems to add together to the formation of a young kid's mind and what he eventually became. And I mean, it doesn't excuse his crimes, but he went on to become a mass serial killer who carried out some pretty abhorrent things. But I think sometimes what people may say, you know, you were born bad or you were born naughty, which I think is an old-fashioned saying. I mean, Ronnie Cray was told that he was born to hang by his Aunt May. But I think sometimes it comes down to mental illness. And thinking about Ronnie Cray, he had a mental illness. He had paranoid schizophrenia. So I think a lot of it is simply down to the way that you brought up, Quincy. Sometimes your experiences, and you can't change that as a kid.
No, definitely. You can only get help, and if it's not there.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah. So you're now involved with this gang. They've took you they've taken you under their wing. What you know, can you remember your first crime and can you remember your first sentence?
Do you know what, first crime is hard to pinpoint because there was probably various things that I've been doing that I haven't been arrested for. And when you do so much things every day, it's hard to remember what the first one was. And more than likely, it was probably either having a fight, because that's a crime too. Sometimes you forget those things are crimes. Having a fight or stealing something. And that's what probably would have been the first crime. I can remember the first crime I got arrested for, though, which was a stabbing, where basically a lot of us was walking down the road, had an argument with two guys, and then we ended up fighting them. Like they were big men, and then a knife came out and someone stabbed him. Obviously, everyone got arrested for GBH. There was around 7 of us. We all got arrested for GBH. But obviously, I think I was around 12. But that case didn't get dealt with till I was around 13. Because by the time I was 12, I ended up in children's homes. By the time I was in children's homes, I wasn't going to court. So I wasn't going to court every time they arrested me. I go to a children's one, I ran away from the children's one. My court case wasn't getting dealt with. So it took ages and ages then for them to get those court cases seen to. So by the time I got sentenced, I was probably around 13, 14, I think I had a community, a supervision order, community order, something like that. Something to do with them having more control of me, basically, the government. So
you say you ended up in children's homes. I mean, was this down to the fact that, you know, the relationship between your mum and your stepdad and your relation in the house had had that deteriorated and did she decided to put you in a home? Is that what happened? Yeah,
so basically what happened was I was committing like petty crimes and that, and I started to get arrested. So one day I got arrested. They phoned the house, and the police told me, you know, usually you phone the house and, you know, to tell them that you're there, and then they come to the police station to sit down and interview. They told me that I was not welcome back at the house, basically. So at first I thought, you know, as you do, you're emotional. You think, oh, it's your mother who's made that decision, because that's the only person I phoned to speak to. But when I realized it, when I understood things, I realized what happened was he didn't want the police coming to the house. Mm-hmm. He didn't want police knowing about our house, nothing to do with our house, and that is why I wasn't allowed back to the house.
Yeah, fully understand that. So, you know, the community order, the supervision order from you know the authorities because of the stabbing. When was your first spell inside?
It was 1994.
And what was that for?
Robbery. So basically what we used to do is, well, at first they tried to link us for robbery, but then as you go through the court procedure and they start reading out the crimes and that, they realized that it wasn't robbery, everything was theft. So basically what we used to do is we used to go into banks or building societies. Well, say we go into building societies, you know, building societies have no glass or nothing. They just have the counter. So what we used to do is we used to walk past a few times, time it, jump over the counter, and as we jump over the counter, you just go into the drawers, get as much money as you can out of the drawers, and run back through the door. So we used to get like, I don't know, maybe when we're around 14, bordering onto 15, so it's like 4 or 5, like there's 5 of us running in there, so between 4 or 5 of us, we run out of maybe 17,000 or something like that. Yeah, between 4 or 5 of us. Now, being that young, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of money. So, what we're doing things like going West End, buying designer clothes, going to the latest parties, buying bits of jewelry, but at the same time, there was the most of us in the gang, we were smoking crack. So basically, at this time, you see like the way people sniff now.
Yeah.
It's the fashion, like, or when they take these balloons, everyone's on these balloons. Smoking crack at that time was a kudos thing. It wasn't like, you know, when people say smoking crack, you see like the local drug addict in the street who's homeless, dirty and stuff like that. It wasn't looked upon like that. It's like if we're going to these major parties that we're at, if you ain't got at least a quarter of crack on you, a quarter of crack symbolizes, you know, like the same way you go to these clubs in Dubai and all these people have got lots of bottles coming to their table. That's the same way if you had a big lump of crack in a party those days and you had all the other bits to go with it, like the clothes, the jewelry, the cars, because all the other girls, that's what they were looking for. They wanted to smoke the crack as well. So it was like that. It was like it was a status thing. It wasn't like you was, you know, like, I don't even like to use that word junkie, but, you know, like down and out on drugs. It wasn't that kind of vibe. Do you know what I mean? So that's what we used to do. And we used to do it every day. Every day was the same thing. Like I used to smoke at least a quarter of cocaine minimum, crack every day. Yeah, every day I used to smoke that every day. So it was like, wake up, Like you be up all night smoking. Maybe I'll get to bed around 4 o'clock, wake up around 12 in the afternoon, bam, straight back out on it, robbery. It's going round and round and round until we get to the weekend, and then you have your big parties, your big do's. You meet the other guys from the other areas who are doing the same thing as you, maybe doing different crimes, but you live in the same lifestyle. You lot meet each other, bloody, networking. Do you know what I mean? There weren't no social media them times, so being at the party and having all the bits, that was the networking kind of. You know what I mean? You'd really have to be there to be networking, not like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was a bit different then. But yeah, by the time I got to 15 and a bit, I had done too much robberies and I had too much cases from 13, 14, building up in the children's homes. Before that, I kind of went to a couple secure units. Secure units are like children's home, but within a locked confinement space. So it's like a mini prison. It's like you're getting ready for prison. So I was in a couple of those places, and then by the time I reached, and you know what? I have to admit now, I don't know how they didn't lock me up sooner. Do you know what I mean? Because the amount of crimes that I was committing, you would have thought, soon as I turned 15, I'd have been in prison. But it took me all the way to August 1994 for them to lock me up. And my birthday was in January. And I remember every time I used to go to court, there always used to be probation and all these people talking on my behalf. At the time, you don't really listen. But at the time now, when I look back, I think, bro, things are kind of fairer than people make it seem, you know. You know that? Because the amount of times I've seen these people trying to stand up and say, no, he's too young to be in prison. This dude, he's too young. He needs this, he needs that. He just needs a bit more time. We need to take care of him. He's young, impressionable. I heard all these words, but I wasn't listening. I was just waiting for the word bail. I couldn't hear all of that. But when I go back and I listen, all of the crimes I've committed, and I've got history of violence. I'm 15. The day I turned 15, I should have been locked up. Like, it took all the way to August for these people in the community, social workers, for the judge to say, you know what, I'm not even listening to you no more. This guy needs to be locked up. And when I look back at it now, I think to myself, wow. Like the community or the structure that was set up, still, they sometimes they get bad press about that, like certain little things slip under the radar, or, they should have done this, or they should have done that, they should have done that. But really and truly, they didn't have to show me no favor. And that's like I said, I should have been locked up ages ago. Do you know what I mean? When I look back on it. So
Can you remember when you went inside for the first time? Did it unnerve you? Were you nervous about being inside? Locked in a cell. I mean, for some people, it's a horrendous feeling, and it's the last thing they want to do again. I mean, I was locked up as a youngster for just for one night, and it was enough to put me off that for the rest of my life, Quincy.
Yeah. All right. So there's a process that I've seen what happened to me, like a conditioning. When I was with my mum at Clapham, I lived in a decent sized room. When we moved to Brixton, my room was smaller than a cell. My bedroom. Yeah, I mean, my brother lived in a bunk bed. In a cell. Not in a cell, but in the room that as small as a cell.
Yeah. So
when I look back on it, it's like already my mind's conditioning for that space, because sometimes I've realized it's the space that makes you, claustrophobic. Mm-hmm. When you're used to being in the big size world.
Yeah. And
then you've gone into this cell and it's like you're trapped and it's small. So already my mind, that space there, my mind's already prepared. It's like my mind prepared it. Like the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So that's step one. Step two is the secure units. I went in a couple of secure units. Obviously, when you're in secure units, you're locked up at nighttime. Your door locks. So they're also getting you ready again, for that space thing, that locked up thing, that getting you prepared for it. When I went to prison, the part that scared me first was not the prison itself going inside of the cell, was this place called, I forgot what it was called. There's this place, before you get to prison, there's this center where all the prison vans meet up and drop off all the prisoners.
Right.
And they put you all in these big cells. So you with people of different sizes and everything. That scared me because you're in the cell with these guys. You don't know who they are. You're probably like the smallest person in there. And there's nobody around to save you. If something was happening in that cell, and there's aggressive people in there, there's mad people in there. You know, like when you see in America, when you get locked up in the police station.
Yeah.
And everyone's in them rooms with all the bars on it.
Yeah.
And they come and say, yeah, you got bail. But there's all these big hench guys and that in there. It was like that. That I was worried. When I was sitting in there, I kind of kept myself to myself and tried to just pretend I wasn't in the room. That scared me. I didn't know nobody. That was the scary part. When my name was called, I was happy to get out of the room and get on the bus and make my way to prison. That room scared me. That was the thing that scared me most of all. When
you were in there, were you building up relationships? I mean, was it like a bit of a criminal training ground for you when you were in there at that time?
Yeah, when I went in there, it was kind of like a training ground. But some of you see where I've been in care most of the time. Most of the kids that I knew from care, I saw them in prison. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and the ones from the secure unit, I saw them in prison. And then I also went to prison with my mates because we was all getting nicked around the same time. So it was like most people I know. And where I know most people, especially from South London, there was a lot of South London people in there. You go on the wing straight away. And so even if I was down and out or scared, or by the time I open up my door in the morning, and then you see lots of people that you know, you got to start performing, innit? The mask comes on. You can't be. There ain't no time to be scared or anything. It's just you got to go straight into acting mode. Do you know what I mean? You don't have no time to be scared now because, like I said, you see, I'm gonna skip forward and come back.
Okay.
The first time I felt a different kind of feeling in prison is when I went to Franklin. Because when I went there, I didn't know nobody. Do you know what I mean? So that was just like, I don't need to perform. I'm just getting my head down. And I think that's the prison where I found myself. So I think when you're around other people that you know, you take things in different and you act different. But we can go back to where you were saying that. It was just an example I wanted to show you.
No, that was good.
Like I said, when I was in the young prison and I get on the landing and there's people from your area who know you as that person who's supposed to be a little bad boy or whatever, you just got to perform. There ain't no time to be thinking about scared or worried or nothing like that. It's just straight performance.
It is, yeah. I mean, how did you cope being in care as well, mate? Because that's a big jump from being, in a home with your mom, and with your sibling to suddenly being out of care. And did your sister stay at home? I meant to ask you that.
Yeah, I got two sisters and a brother. They stayed at home. They all stayed at home. Yeah. But my sister, what she used to do is because I used to try and sneak back in the house. So what my sister used to do, she used to leave the windows open sometimes and let me back in the house. But she used to get in trouble for that as well. But after that period finished, then next time I got arrested, I just wasn't allowed back in the house. But the care now, as for care, for me, care was probably one of the times that I was in care was the probably best childhood moments of love that I had around that time. Yeah. Because when I went to the first children's home, I ran away from children's home, went straight back to Brixton. I was staying where I could, staying at my friend's house as long as I could, staying at my aunt's house for as long as I could. But even though I'm staying at my aunt's house, I'm not sitting in the house with her. I'm still going back to the street and then coming staying at her house. Or staying at my cousin's house, my big cousin who let me stay with her, Debbie sometimes. Like I said, my friend's house. My girlfriend at the time might sneak me into her house. It was just like rough living. Like even sometimes I might have to sleep on where all the buses, the bus depots.
Yeah.
Go upstairs, sleep on the back of the bus depot. Sometimes break into an abandoned flat, sleep on the floor. Wake up, you'd see me the next morning. You wouldn't even know I just slept rough. I just straight back to acting again. Do you know what I mean? In the daytime. But so when I used to get to the children's homes now, when I used to first get there, you get there, they give you food. You probably ate and a proper cooked meal for ages. So you get the food, they show you your room, you know, the nice smell of fresh sheets, stuff like that. They show you your cupboard. They tell you they're gonna bring you to the town centre, buy you some bits and bobs, some clothes, some trainers, some new items. They might bring you swimming. You might go and play tennis, you know, stuff like that. Bring bowling, bowl cinema, birthday. They might even bring you a birthday. I don't even know the last time I even had a birthday. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll bring you a birthday cake on your birthday. So those moments there for me, yeah, they were nice. They were nice. But where most of the children's homes I lived in were so far away, I got bored. So I had to run back to London after a while. Mm-hmm. And then start the whole process over again. So when I used to move to children's homes, they was kind of like relief. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like some people, you know, they leave home and they go to children's homes. Sometimes it's like they're in despair. I was in despair because I was in despair in the street, even though it seemed like it was exciting, but that's where I was. But I didn't understand what despair was until I got in a children's home where it was so normal. Mm-hmm. And depending on what children's home I go to, again, the children's homes I go to are far. They're the ones where I felt more like a child. When I go to the children's homes in London, there's always people I know already. People in that's another place where, well, I already said it, innit? The children's homes that I know people from in prison. So the same people in the children's homes, yeah. So when I'm in East London, I know the bad boys in East London because I was in children's homes in East London. And when I'm in the children's home in East London, I'm actually doing bad things with the other bad boys in the children's home. The only time I wasn't doing bad things in children's home is when I was at children's homes far again and I didn't know nobody.
You came to notoriety nationally with a big crime. Got to be over 20 years ago now.
I was looking back at it the other day. Yeah, 20 years.
Unbelievable, really. Tell us how your life led to that, and tell us a little bit about that incident.
Yeah, so basically, like after my second prison sentence, which was for robbery again, I came out of prison. And this is where people they like to get this thing misconstrued in me for some reason. Yeah. I came out of prison the second time. When I was in prison that second time, I told myself I will never smoke crack again. The first time I went to prison, I smoked crack, came back out, smoked crack. And then I told myself I'll never smoke crack again. Because in between that time, I met my dad, my real dad, Steve. I met him. And obviously he was still sick in that. But the one thing he told me was, don't ever do them robberies again. Like I sat down with him an hour. Nothing came out of his mouth because he doesn't really speak. And he said, that was the only thing he said to me. And when I was in jail, it stuck in my head. Don't do them robberies again. But I know the robberies come with the drugs. It was just like part and parcel. So I told myself, I'll never smoke crack again. Yeah, I made that decision. And then I came out. And when I came out, my sister was now going out with my late friend who died, Tipsy, and he was like the top drug dealer in South. Top. So obviously, again, you know, I'm meeting. When I first came out, I didn't jump into anything, but then he told me when I was ready, he'd put me on. So he was true to his words. He put me on. So now I'm running this line for him. I'm running this line with him, and our other friend Bugsy, and we're doing well. So he's got himself into some trouble, and me being how I am, I've backed him. So for a few weeks, people were like firing shots at us, but we was taking like ecstasy, tablets. So we was going out every weekend, flyest guys in the party, all the money, all the champagne, all the girls, jewelry. Them times it was Prada. So all the new season we had it. the Mercedes Benzes, cars, everyone in the area who was doing anything. We used to meet at Camberwell, and we used to go meet up and go to parties on the weekend. So everyone's taking ecstasy, blah blah blah. Soon as he got in trouble, so he said there's a 20-car convoy. Soon as he got in trouble, there's probably only 3, all them 17 cars left. They didn't see us no more. There was just like maybe a few of us. Yeah. So it was just like me, Bugsy, and Timer. Yeah. At this time. And some guy called Reds. So yeah, it was just us. And we were still partying, but what was happening is we was getting party, because we're in a pattern of partying. Partying's like our thing. We work through the week, party in the weekend. Work through the week, party in the weekend. So it's like, even though the shots were firing at us, we saw it like it was, like it was a game. We go to the party, we come out, people try to shoot at us, we get away, ha ha ha, we laugh, ha ha, we go out again, and it was keep on happening. But one day it's like, I said, we need to stop taking these ecstasies, because it's like, we just continue a cycle until one of us are gonna die. So it was carrying on. And then one day what happened was my mate Tipsy, he was with I think he went to my sister's house, and then they came downstairs, and what happened was shots were fired in the car. And my sister was in the car, and she phoned me, she was crying. So I think that is when I said this ecstasy stuff has to stop. Like, this has gone too far now. So from there now, obviously, we bought firearms. We didn't have firearms, and then we was just about making the money. So we bought firearms, and so we were still going out, by the way, but we're going out with firearms this time. So we're going out. 1 and 2 things happened when we went out and stuff, but nothing major. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are outside waiting. You come out a bit more prepared. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But then it wasn't really party no more. It didn't feel fun anymore. Do you know what I mean? So I stopped going to parties. So what happened was now is one day, my mate was going home. And when he was going home, he got into his house. Some guys chased him in his house. My mate Bugsy chased him in his house. No, I think he chased him into Timer's house. I think him and Timer was in the same hostel. And the guys put a double-barrel shotgun through his letterbox and bust it through the letterbox. And when my friend phoned me, you could hear, before we was on ecstasy, so when the shots got bust, they were fun. This time you could hear, like, because we're in real reality, real time now, it's not fun anymore. So that kind of I don't know, it didn't shake me up, but just hearing his voice like that kind of made me think, whoa. And when
it's a reality check, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it was. So when the shotguns went through because he phoned me, he's like, all that breathing stuff, and then 2 days before that, I think my friend got arrested, my friend Tipsy, so he was already in jail. So it's just like me and Bugsy and Timer left. So it's like, yeah, out is getting serious. And then one time someone phoned me and said, yo, bro, Bear Man's looking for you. Yeah? I said, how do you know that? Is him? Bro, drive down to Kenneton, you will see them. There's bare cars and bare bikes. So I drove down there, and I'm sitting on the back road, and I'm watching at least 7 cars and bikes driving around. Yeah? And obviously, if this guy didn't phone me, I wouldn't know that's for me. So I was thinking, whoa, this is getting serious. So now this guy Reds, who was around us, who the whole problem started because of, he phoned me. He said, he's at one girl's house. And I said, yeah. I said, bro, leave that girl's house, because that girl is linked to these guys. This guy Reds, he's from Bristol, by the way. So he doesn't know who's who down our area. I told him, leave that house. So he said, nah, man, I've got her locked, man. Don't worry, man. She's my thing. I got her under my wing. He came out of the house. When he came out of the house, they shot him up in his car. Do you know what I mean? He didn't die, but they shot him up in his car. So again, things are getting serious. So I went back to my house, and I came out my house. And when I came out my house, there was like some cars parked up. But as I came out my house to go to the car, their lights on their car went dead bright. So I ran over to a bush and pretended I had something over there. So when I went over there to the bush to pretend I had something over there, they went, and they drove away. After that, some girl phoned me and said, oh yeah, she heard what happened. I'm like, I you know what happened, bloody. So straight away, I'm thinking she's got something to do with it. So anyway, I'm thinking this is getting too much because there's people, they know where I live, etc. So anyway, I moved out of that house. I linked my friend Remy, and he put me up in some girl's house called Ashleen. Down, I remember Ashleen from Big Brother.
I do, yes.
Yeah, she put me up in her house down King's Cross. So I was chilling in her house, but while I was chilling there, I was working from there because my line was based around there. So she wasn't really at the house at the time, but yeah, she used to come in now and then, make sure I was all right. So within all that, I made an order around for probably a week prior for a Uzi. So while I was in the house, that order came. So yeah, that's it. Perfect. Yeah, bloody hell. Jesus.
Take you back. Take you back.
Yeah, because you know why? You might take me back. Because that is the exact one. You know, like usually they might have a picture that's similar to the thing that you got, but because the bandana, that's the exact bandana I bought. I bought that bandana from Camden. Because obviously I was in King's Cross and my line was in Camden. So when I bought that, when I was sitting in her bedroom, I was thinking, bloody hell, how am I going to carry this? So I went to the shop, bought some hoodies, bought a couple bandanas, bought a couple, you know, them masks, them screen masks. Yeah. You know, them masks that they wear. I bought a couple of those. I remember the jumpers. You know that band, Slipknot?
Yeah.
I bought a couple of hoodies with Slipknot on it. Yeah. Guns N' Roses, bare hoodies with that. I don't know what I thought. I thought I was in a movie. Yeah. I really did. Yeah, I thought I was in a movie. So yeah, I bought those stuff, and then I remember, yeah, I put the bandana around the edge as you saw, tied it there, and I put it there on my shoulder so it could hang off my shoulder. Because there's no way I could walk with that in my waist. Do you know what I mean? It's quite big. Yeah. So what happened was now is I was looking for somewhere to hide it in her house. So in the sink behind her house, there was, you know, there's some kind of a little gap where you put the bin.
Yeah.
You know, between the cupboards. So I put my hand around there. I could feel there was space. So I pushed it around there, kept it there. As I put it down there, I swear, no word is good. As I put it around the corner, I sat down. When I sat down, I felt satisfied, you know, like I'm ready now if anything happens. I've seen who's looking for me. Yeah. And I've got this, so I don't mind. Yeah, I'm easy. So I sat down. As I've sat down and just relaxed into the seat, my phone rang. And my phone rang, and I remember it said, I remember I said to myself, don't go nowhere. That's what I said to myself. In my head. I don't know what it was. You know, like some people would say, oh yeah, their mind told them something or something. I remember I said to myself, do not go anywhere. I sat down, I answered the phone. It was my mate, Bugsy. You know, the one they shot through his door?
Yep.
Bro, I think it was the day of, was it Luton Carnival or something? It was in May. There's a carnival on that day. I think there's Luton or something. He said, bro, I'm looking for these guys. But you see him, he likes to drink, innit? You get me? When he drinks a little bit, yeah. He's smoky. You get me? He's smoky. He said, nah, come man, today's the day, bro. I got my bike. I said, you sure, bro? He said, yeah, man, I'm ready. I got my new thing as well. I said, all right, then, cool. He's meet me, bloody. I met him. So when I met him now, obviously, he didn't know I had my thing in it. So I showed him the thing, yeah. When I showed it to him, he was so excited. Do you know what I mean? So excited. So we're on the bike now, driving around all the local places. Bear in mind, for some reason, London just seems empty. Well, where we're from South, it just seems empty. Like there's hardly anyone on the streets. So we've gone through all the areas where we think these people might be. Yeah, went through a few spots. even went round to their mum's house. And as we went round to their mum's house, we actually saw the mum and the sisters. So I remember I got off my bike and I showed the mum and the sister the Uzi there. And I said, listen, tell your sons, do not make what happened happen to my sister again. Do not, you see, like this thing that we've got, don't make it affect the girls, innit? Because they shot up the car the other way and my sister was in the car. And if she would have been died, I would have been seeing you now and things would have been different. Do you get what I'm saying? So please don't let that happen. Just warn them and tell them to keep the girls out of this. Yeah. And the mum and the sisters, they was in full agreement, you know, like just nodding. Obviously, I could have done what they done to my sister and just send a warning shot or something, but I didn't. But and the reason I did it is because I know them. I grew up with them. Do you get what I'm saying? I grew up with them. I've even stayed in the mum's house before when I was young. Do you know what I mean? Slept, you know, when I was in children's homes and that, I've slept in their house. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I felt like when I saw them, I had to make them aware of what's going on because of my sister. Because obviously when I heard my sister's tears that night, it really affected me. She was really scared in that. You know what I mean? And she was nothing to do with this. And she could have died that night. So as I came from around their estate, I saw my young bucks at the time, Biker, Shagun, and I think Sykes in the car. I showed them the thing as well. Right there, they parked up. They said, what you doing? What you doing? I said, yeah, man, I'm looking for them guys. And I showed them the thing, yeah? And obviously, they got excited as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it was a big thing. It wasn't like rolling around with a handpiece. Do you know what I mean? So rolling around, seeing a couple people, looking in certain cars, I recognize them. Just kind of intimidating, a lot of intimidating behavior. Do you know what I mean? On the street locally. So anyway, we've gone down to this road called Milford Road. And as we go down to this road called Milford Road, there's a road that my cousin lived on. And when I looked down the road, I saw a car with a group of people standing up. But where I was looking from, it looked like they was outside my cousin's house. So first thing I was thinking, raw, they're at my cousin's. But bearing in mind, 1 minute before that, on that Milford Road, there was a girl who we know. And we stopped to talk to her. And we said, oh, have you seen them guys? And she said to me, that's what I'm saying. It was kind of like a movie. You know, like in a movie, you see someone. Yeah, she stopped and said, yeah, be careful though. There's bare people looking for you. I said, looking for who? He said, yeah, there's bare people looking for you. I said, okay. And then I drove around 10 steps, which was to my cousin's house. And I saw that on the road. I drove down there, jumped off the bike, pulled up my helmet. And as I done that, a police van come right behind us and their light came on. So I just jumped back on the car. Bearing in mind, I don't know if they can see this thing sticking out. Because remember, I'm only wearing like a little hoodie. So even though the thing's hanging down there, remember the magazine, you can't see the magazine on there, on that picture.
Yeah.
So the magazine would have been, it was quite long. Yeah, you wouldn't see the magazine probably goes down to the M7 part. You know, it says M7, that little, just past that bullet. So with the magazine hanging all the way down there, that's probably sticking out. So where I'm on a bike, the police can see that's probably things sticking out the back of me, my helmet coming off. They probably thought, yeah, something's about to happen there. They turned their light on. I jumped back on the bike. But when I jumped back on the bike now, I pulled the thing around to the front of me and put it here. And I was holding on one thing and driving. So he's driving now. We've got away from the police. His house, Bugsy's house, where his sister's house, or his mum's, it's around 5 streets away. So we go, boom, 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 boom. Mr. Police, but we're thinking now we need to get off the bike. So as we've got off the bike now, we've jumped off the bike in haste, basically, yeah? Jumped off the bike, and he's got a Mercedes, a SLK. So we jumped in. I jumped in the passenger seat. He took the alarm off. Jumped in the passenger seat. He jumped in in the driver's side. But when he jumped in the driver's side, I've looked in the rear view mirror. So I've looked in the rear view mirror. I said to him, yo, bro, your bike light's still on. Yeah. So as he got out to turn the bike light off, I just heard, pop, pop, pop. I heard shots firing. So I've looked out my rear view mirror and I'm seeing people, you know, like James Bond, like walking down to the side, like on bending knees, balaclavas, trying to creep down to the side of my window. So I've wind down the window, took this Uzi out, and I went, but nothing's come out. You remember, I'm not a professional gunman. I'm just someone that has got into this situation and bought something. And I'm thinking to myself, why isn't it thingy bobbing? I remember they're still creeping to my window. This time now, my friend Bugsy, he's firing at them on his side. There's people on his side creeping at him. So he's firing at them. They're firing back at him. And obviously I'm running out of time. So I just looked at it. And within like 2 seconds, I worked it out. You see, there's a thing on the top. Bring that picture back. You see that little round circle at the top?
Yeah.
I pull that back. I just went, pull that back. As I pull that back, stuck it out the window. You just heard it go, brrr, brrr. Looked in the rearview mirror, and now I'm seeing them run off. So where I've seen them run off, jumped out the car. And now where I see them running, because they've heard what I've got, you know, the testosterone now, it's driving through my body. I feel like I'm in control now. It's like I'm not even shooting at anyone. I'm just shooting. You know, like I just want them to hear this. And you can just hear the cars like, and then I'm hearing all of that. And then in one split second, I looked around and I saw, was it an old man or an old woman? I think it was an old woman, or old man. It was with a baby and they're trying to cross the road. And obviously I looked at these guys and they were going like, boom, boom, boom. So it's like quick calculations. I just went up in the air. They ran off. Yeah. And I just let the people walk past because they was trying to get this other side of the road, but they were stuck. They was about to cross the road. And as soon as they heard that, they kind of like kneeled down where they was, but where they was, it was dangerous. They could have got caught in the fire. So once I done that, they passed. And even in the court case, that was mentioned by the judge. And he, I don't know if he did, but me personally, I think he did take that into consideration when because when my solicitor tried to bring that up about what I done. About it was I had never had no thought for my own life in that. Remember, the prosecutor said no. It's not that he never had no thought life. It's just that he's so used to doing this kind of stuff every day. That's why he was able to do that. But I don't think the judge actually listened to him because me personally, I think I could have got more sentence. So I did think that he really he did see that I had, I don't know, a care inside of me, but there was something in me that made me forget about my own life for that split second and think about those two because they even came in court and even like I even got the statements, you know, like saying that that's exactly what I done. So yeah, but when I saw them again, like my sister as well, you know, like they're not involved. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's just like I'm willing to put myself up front in a way.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? When they're not involved. So yeah, it was that vibe. Huh?
So after doing that, you drove off. Yeah, I mean, I believe,
yeah, so we drove
reading the reports. I mean, you eventually crashed the car, didn't it?
Yeah, no. This is not it. This is the daytime. This is the daytime. Yeah, so this is the daytime. So after that, now I phoned my guys and my other guys. I phoned Remy and I phoned Gems, and I said, "Yo, bro." These guys tried to, they were waiting so basically, if that didn't happen, if I stayed on my settee, like my mind told me, I think Bugsy might have died that day. Because he would have went to his sister's house later on to jump in his car, and they probably would have just assassinated him. Nice and easy. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was because we was on the bike, because what we found out through the court papers is that them guys have been sitting there was a hostel across the road. They've been sitting in a hostel across the road from Bugsy's house, waiting for him to come back. So they found out his location. So when he was out on the street doing all that circling and then phoning me, all that time they was waiting for him to come back, not knowing I was coming back with him. But this time I've got the thing with me. Do you get what I'm saying? So they'd have been 3 against 1, which would have probably led to him getting killed. So Anyway, so we're hyped now. So basically, all that other stuff that I've got in the house, you know, all the clothes that I bought from Camden Lock, the hoodies, the masks. I even bought some long jackets, gloves, baseball hats, etc., etc. I've driven all the way back there, got dressed up, gave my other friends some masks, my other friends some hoodies. Our other friends linked us time with the BMW. So now there's a BMW, and my other friend James, he's come with an Audi, which is a ringer. Same color as this gold one, gold Audi that he came with. So once he's come with us, I've got in his gold Audi, and Bugsy and Timer and Remy are in the BMW. So now we're driving around. This is nighttime now, driving around looking for these guys. Anywhere. Like, we're not done yet. We're not finished. So we drove down to so basically we've gone to all the places. So we drove down to this place called Pearly. So as we drove into the car park, we don't know if they're there, but this is one of the biggest parties. So we're thinking maybe they're there, might even be looking for us. Yeah, because they know we always go party. So we drove into the car park. As you drive into the car park, there's a bit of traffic, like it's a long traffic to get in. So I've jumped out of the car. But when I'm jumped out of the car now, I'm looking in cars and seeing if I know anybody. You know, but I'm being a bit rude of it though, you know, a bit intrusive, like putting my head in the window. Man said, I said, who you talking to? And obviously I showed them the thing. And they said, oh yeah, cool, bro, cool. So I'm going down car to car, looking in. And then one, I'm still doing it, but I didn't know that my young buck, yeah, and this is what they say. You see, people do influence other people. Do you get what I'm saying? Because now he's seen what I'm doing. He's got his gun on him as well, but he jumped out the car and tried to do what I'm doing. But he's gone to a car and he's doing the same thing I'm doing, but he don't know the car behind the car that he's doing is with them as well. If you get what I'm saying. So he's gone to the car in front, gone in there, put his head in, trying to do the same thing I was doing, mimicking what I was doing, but the car behind is with the people in front that he's doing it to. So they see him doing that, they jumped out the car and tried to move to him. Do you get what I'm saying? So now he's got 8 people trying to beat him up. And now I can hear, I don't know this happened at the time. The only time I was alerted to is when my young buck said, Quincy, help me, they're trying to get my gun. So I've looked over and I've seen these guys, you know, like trying to kick him, next man trying to, so I ran over there and I've just went with the Uzi. So obviously once I've done that, they've all scattered, but there's one on the floor. He's got caught in his leg. He's on the floor, screaming on the floor. And then I picked up Gems. He picked up his gun. He's got his gun off the floor, and we've jumped back into the Audi now. So as we jumped into the Audi, we're trying to move away from the scene of the crime. So as we're moving away from the scene of the crime, we're driving. Now, bearing in mind, I fired shots a few times down in Brixton with the Uzi. I haven't reloaded or anything, and then obviously I've just busted shots then. So I'm trying to look how many shots, like I'm trying to gauge how many shots I've got left. So as I've moved the clip a bit, the gun went off in the car and it's gone straight through to the dash. So now these automatic, these electric cars. Well, not electric. When everything's turned electric, there's no dials or nothing. So as soon as that happened, the car just went. All the electrics in the screen just went boom. So everything's just gone. So he tried to start the car won't start. As that's happened now, woo, police have pulled up behind us. Right behind us, yeah. Obviously they don't know what to do. It's only one car. Because they probably heard the shots, they was probably in the car park already. So they ain't jumped out to come and approach us or anything. They're just behind the car, probably on their radios. And the sirens is going on. So we're trying to start the car, and then our mates in the BMW, for some reason, it's like, I don't know, God told them, that our car's broken down or something's happened, our car won't move. They reversed, because they were smart. They reversed. We jumped out our car and jumped into their car. Jumped into their car now. Started driving. And then we come out of this complex, Pearly Way. Anyone who knows Pearly Way, it's like the part of it was like it looked like like warehousey.
Yeah.
like that kind of place. So you're going through there, coming in and out of there. Told my friend to go. I think I told him to go right, but he went left, or whatever way I told him to go, he went opposite way. So he went opposite way. Obviously he's scared as well, isn't it? You know what I mean? So we do make mistakes when we're scared. So he's gone the wrong way. But as he went the wrong way, as we come back all the way around, you've gone back past the same location where we come from. So by the time we've got there, there's loads of police there. They've joined in the chase. And now we're driving the right way now. But as we're driving the right way, the direction that we're driving, there's police cars on each side road that we drive past, waiting to join into the convoy of police that are following us. So I'm saying to my friends, how are we going to get out of this? Because I'm not planning on going back to jail. And I'm definitely not going back to jail for this. So, man saying they don't know. So I just made a split decision and said to myself, the only way we're going to get out of this is if some kind of distraction or something goes on. So I just started firing the Uzi out the window until it was finished, threw that out the window, and then my other friend had a gun, fired that as well a couple of times. But I left that in the car because it wasn't my gun to throw away. I gave it back to my friend. So after that, like, it was a bit pandemonium, with the police. Woo! Like, there was crashes, police cars swerving out the way, and then we crashed into some place called the Fortney Pond. Like, I went to jump out the car to get out, but then he kind of got the car out of the fence, and we drove a little bit, and then the tires went. They put the stingers in the street, them stingers.
Yeah.
Wheels went, and once the stingers touch the wheels, you lose control of the steering. So the car went into a van. So I jumped out. As I jumped out, we saw the police with the guns, and they got them caps on, them black and white checkers. Don't move. But all of us jumped out the car at the same time. There was only a few police. I just darted past them. My other friends darted past. But my other friend, when we jumped into the van, as he was jumping out the car, his legs got stuck in the car and between the van. So I think the police went straight onto him. He got arrested, but I started running into, when you go through, there's a lot of houses on the street, and there's a little gaps between the house where the gardens are.
Yeah.
Straight through those into the gardens, started clearing fences, jumping over fences, hearing dogs. My worst fear is dogs. But at this time I couldn't even hear the dogs. I could hear them. I just wasn't running in their direction. So wherever I heard the dogs, they kind of guided me to ride the other way. So I think I even said last time, like, them wooden fences that they've got, like, they're strips of wood. Just like a fence, there's just long strips of wood.
Yeah.
Like, there was no time to be climbing.
Yeah.
I just ran. I was running through them. Like, it sounded like gunshots the way I just ran through them, like ran through them. And then there was a stage where after a while of doing that, there was like the helicopter was in the air. The helicopter was in the air, but I was in kind of like a little forest section. And then, like, I had to chill for a little while because you know what? It came to a stage where the adrenaline left my body. And now I'm just scared. Do you know what I mean? I'm just scared. I don't even know exactly where I am. I know the vicinity that I'm in, but I don't know where I am because I've just kept running. So I just kept running now. And I just remembered, I had to go shit. That's how scared I was. I had to. I just done it right there and then. Yeah, because, like, all I could hear was, like, the whole area was blue.
Yeah.
The whole area was blue. Like, remember, there's shootings that happen, but just shootings at police, this doesn't happen like that. It was like a movie, to them. So the amount of police that must have been in that area looking for all of us, must have been crazy because I could see the blue, I could hear the blue. Like, remember, I'm in gardens, so they're all on streets around. So, like I said, there was a helicopter in the air, and I was in this foresty place, and there was a big tree lying down. So I remember I went under the tree to lie down after a little while, and I remember I was praying under the tree. And then as the light went over the tree, I just followed the light until as I'm under the tree, the light went over the tree, and as I went over the tree, I got out and just followed it there, and then ran that way. As I ran that way, I saw some kids, and I said, it's a bit cliched what I said to them. I just said, I said some black kids are trying to chase me. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Just some black kids are trying to chase me, and they said, "Yeah, come with us. We won't let them trouble you." And they gave me their jacket, and they walked me to the cab office, and they got me to the cab office now in Crystal Palace. That's how I ran to Crystal Palace. Got into the cab office, went straight to Ashley's house. She weren't in. I was sitting down on the staircase, waiting, and just an hour later on, she came. I remember she was wearing a black dress. She got out of the park. She got out of her friend's car. I said, "Yo, Ashley, come in. I need help. I need to get out of here." And she helped me pack clothes, and she came with me, and we just stayed on the run for like 2 weeks. Hotel to hotel. Like most of the time I stayed at the hotel, she went about her business, but she used to make sure I was all right. Got clothes to my house, found me clothes, and then got arrested basically.
Eventually arrested, and obviously when you went to court, you got a substantial sentence, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 14 years. 14 years. Obviously, before I never had a sentence that big. It was like 5 years. I got 3 years before that and 5 years. And then when I got 14 years this time, again, you see this conditioning thing, it's crazy, you know, because when I first, when we was in court, they was talking like I'm about to get life. But I didn't. So when I heard 14, again, you know, like when you say, hope for the best, expect the worst.
Yeah.
So when I'm hearing life and then I got 14, it was like, I wasn't happy, but I was scared that I was going to get life. I was shitting myself that I was going to get life. So when I didn't get life, I think it was a feeling of gratitude. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You think you're going to get life and then you get 14 years. If you don't think you're going to get life but you get 14 years, you'd probably be pissed. But when I got 14 years, it was like, thank God. If you get what I'm saying. Even though no one wants to get 14 years, it's a long time. But when you got your mind, when they prepared your mind for life, which is the worstest thing you could hear, and you get 14, you're kind of satisfied. Yeah. You're kind of thinking, you know what? Thank God. And now, hopefully, I can do something about the situation. But I thought that for a little while. But you know how you go. You get back to prison. After a while, you go through the ropes, and then you just you get back to the same shit you was doing. You know, after a while, these things don't last for a while. Don't last for a while. You get over it again, especially when you're used to prison already. So it just seemed like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna get the bird out of the way. But then there's a few things that happened. I know he's gonna go. There's a few things that happened. What happened to me was my sister's friend got killed, and that little my young buck Jems, who they tried to take his gun in the car park that night, he got killed also. And they got killed in the space of months. And the first one got killed because of the situation from the beginning, the situation that I was backing him in. He died because of that. He was on home leave, and he went back to the area. They knocked him off his bike, and they shot him to death. So he got killed. And then Jems, he bust my case. Basically, he was in Nando's one day, and he was sitting down in Nando's, and some guy came in there and tried to fire shots at him. He had his gun on him. He fired back at the guy. The guy ran out of Nando's, jumped in his car, and crashed his car into the Travelate's window in Shepherd's Bush. So he was on camera shooting the guy, but he got not guilty. You know, because the guy coming there shooting him. I don't know how it worked, but yeah, he got not guilty, and he got not guilty for the police shooting. So, you know, he's come out now. He's thinking that he's invincible. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know what he's doing, but I don't know if he was bullying someone or something, but he got in some car with some people and they shot him through the back. But he didn't die straight away. I was speaking to him all the time. Like for 6 months he was out, and then 1 minute he had to go back to hospital, and he was speaking to me while he was in hospital because he had his phone. And he kept on saying to me, Q, I just need ice poles. I need ice poles, man. Inside me just feels so hot. And he kept on phoning his sister for ice poles. And then after that, I phoned back. There was no answer. And then I just found out he died in hospital, like lead poison and killed him. So he got back out of hospital and that kept on going in and out, but lead poison caught up with him and just killed him. So them 2 deaths in the space of a short time, it led me just to just be on alcohol and MDMA and weed. So like I was just living my life in a different space inside prison and that lasted probably for 7-8 months. And then after that 7-8 months, what happened was the people that I've been in beef with came into the prison that I was in, and I was in gym. I didn't even know they was in the prison I was in, because in fact, they're not convicted prisoners, so I don't know how they got in the prison that I was in, Long Lartin. They're on remand. No remand prisoners should be in Long Lartin. So when I look back on it now, it looks like to me, they were getting done for some different shootings at the time. It's like police, what they try to do is put them in there to gather some intelligence to create the picture, for the judge, whoever is in. Because remember, my crime is a serious crime, and they're trying to prove that this is all connected, put them in jail with him, let them start fighting. Because they came into the gym while I was in there and we just started fighting. And after that, they shipped me to Franklin. And I went to Franklin. There was no drugs. I didn't know nobody. And I just found myself. And that was the most enlightening, spiritual awakening that I've ever had when I was in Long Lartin. I didn't know nobody. The only person I met in there, which was one of the best people I've met, was the kindest people I've met. I've never known him. He doesn't know me. Was that Paul Massey guy? Remember Paul Massey? Like Paul Massey, I don't know, maybe, remember he's from Manchester, innit? So
yeah,
he probably knows lads like me, boys like me as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so he just came to my door one day. He said, "Do you smoke?" I said, "Yeah." And he just threw a lump of ash under my door. He said, just keep your head down, just get your bird done, you'll be out of here soon. I said, "All right, mate, sweet." And that was the kind of only contact I had with anyone in that prison. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And from there, I just sat down, I just started writing, because my friend who died first, he wanted me to get involved in music, but I wasn't interested. So I was going over his letters, reading his letters, and then I just started writing. I started writing poetry first, and then started writing small little scripts from my life, giving them different names and different characters. Then started writing songs. Then I started rapping. And then I went with all of that, I went back to Whitemore, and then obviously I knew people there, so I started to practice my raps in front of them. They started to like them, started to make them read my stories, and I got encouraged by that, and I just thought, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it in dedication to my people that passed. And that's how my life changed.
It's an amazing journey, and for you to to change your life around like that, deserves a hell of a lot of credit, mate. And from your perspective, what do you think the future holds for you now with what you're doing? You've been out of prison a while now. So.
I've been out of prison. This is the longest I've ever been out of prison, which is even in that is quite remarkable, and it's a big achievement for me and for my family and my friends, especially my daughter. I have a granddaughter now as well, 7, and a grandson. Like obviously I got my new podcast as well, which is doing good. I've just started again. Like you yourself, I've been out of the game for a little while.
Yeah,
going through some stuff. Like a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to go through, whether it's good or bad, I've had to go through sometime in my life. Relationships, stuff like that, family. Things, ups and downs. Like I've been going through it, but when I was going through it, it's kind of like I kind of stepped back from all that media stuff for a while. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've just started to come back. I've got a new album coming out, which is I've turned into a singer, which is remarkable. I'll make you hear my stuff. I've got rock music, indie music that I've been making. I'm sure you like it. That's why I liked your intro, because some of the stuff sounds similar to what I do. So that album's coming out soon. We shot a few videos, and I think the future is looking better. Obviously, when I was doing all the other stuff before, it was me learning. Remember, I've had to learn this stuff. But the thing is, I realized when I was doing that stuff before, that's what was keeping me away from all the other stuff. So I didn't even care if I had made 1 pence from it. Do you get what I'm saying? For me, it just made me. It made me all of that energy, all of that stuff inside me. It just made me be able to put all of it into it, and I didn't care as long as my mind was stuck in that. It was my way of staying up, getting distracted from all the other stuff. So obviously, where I've stepped back and now I've started to look at things more of a business. I've done courses now. I've done some therapy as well on myself. I've done a few things. So now I think I'm in a good place to be able to move forward. That's why even when you initially reached out to me, there was some family stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know, there's deaths and all types of stuff going on. So problems with my daughter. There's been so much stuff that probably I would have went through 20 years ago if I didn't go to prison that I've had to go through now.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. It's an amazing journey, and I wish you the best, the very best of luck with everything that you do. What I would like is the links, and what I'll do is when this goes out a little bit later this week, I'll stick the links down below so anybody wants to find out where they can watch your podcast. I've watched it, mate. I'm a viewer, and I think it's great the stuff that you do. It's always very interesting. You certainly shoot straight from the hip, and you give an honest opinion, which I like. I will finish off because this one will go out on my big channel, the True Crime channel.
Podcast soon, like this, in this style.
Great stuff, mate. Well, that's what you want to do. The True Crime channel that I've set up is very embryonic at this stage. I'm going to migrate all my stuff from the NUFC Matters channel onto the True Crime channel. But for now, this one will go out on the big channel, so people, will get a wider audience. So I will put your links below. Just quickly on the Arsenal, mate. Newcastle United, my team. Arsenal, your team. It's been a great start, the 2022-23 season, hasn't it, for both teams?
That's right. When are we playing?
Hey, it won't be long, mate. Won't be long. I mean, give us your views on Arsenal's start of the season, mate, and I'll check the date out.
Do you know what? Yeah, I think it's not even just the start of the season. Yeah, it's been the last. I think it started from last season. But what it is you see, when you're a club that as people see as one of the top clubs. I've realized people expect all the time, but what they forget is, there's another 18, 19 teams, and they're all going for the same thing, innit? So, and if everyone knows anything about life, success does not stay in the same place. Do you get what I'm saying? It goes round and round. It goes round and round. It never stays in the same place. And there's other people that are always coming up with ingenious ideas and different ways of winning. So basically, when Hassim started to buy, and this is what I like about Newcastle, the model that they chose. They haven't just said, all right, cool, I'm going to go and get Robinho, or I'm just going to go and get this best player that's over the hill, but not even over the hill, but he's a star player, but he's not really doing it now, but he wants big wages and that. What you've done is you've bought players to bring you to the next level. So when you get to that next level, then now you're going to get the players to get to the next level. So when he bought the players like the Tomiyasu, the Ben White, I could see what he was doing. He was finding players for the right positions, but knowing when I get to next season, then I'm gonna get the next players to go with them players. So I see the same thing happen at Newcastle. You've got the players that you need for now to solidify you where you are, and then the next season, when people understand what Newcastle's about and what they're doing, because you never know, you could end up fourth. With the way the season's going, you could end up fourth. The most consistent win.
There's Arsenal's first defeat on the screen. And of course, the league decider takes place on the 6th of May. Wow. So Newcastle pushing for a Champions League spot, and Arsenal trying to win the league could be. That's a big game, mate.
You better hope that we're not trying to both get that 4th spot, mate. Huh?
I think Arsenal are in contention to win the Premier League this year.
Yeah,
that is my prediction, and I think Arteta's got that team playing well. And what a signing Gabriel Jesus was. And I think Newcastle and Arsenal seasons depend on keeping Callum Wilson and Gabriel Jesus fit, because Callum Wilson is a massive player for Newcastle, and Gabriel Jesus was a massive player for Arsenal.
And I'm glad they didn't do that. You know, like, because you got all that money, they thought, yeah, let's get rid of all them players, every single one of them, and let's bring in all these superstars, because I don't think that would have worked. So the guys like Callum Wilson and all that stuff. And what's that? I like that guy Jacobs. I like him as well. That guy Jacobs.
Yeah, Jacob Murphy's doing okay, mate. We've got a couple of players. Joe Willock, an Arsenal protege, of course. Doesn't score the goals that he scored on loan, but he makes the midfield tick. Does the dirty work. Yeah. Listen, we'll definitely get you back on. Probably the back end of the year, maybe the start of the new year. Just looking ahead to that Arsenal game, mate. I'll get you back on for that. But listen,
my album should be out as well, so that'd be nice.
Great stuff. Give your podcast a shout, mate. Where can people find it?
My podcast is called QBE or Not to Be, and you can find that on Real Life TV UK on YouTube.
Great stuff, mate. Listen, Quincey, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I knew it would be a great interview. We will keep in touch and we will get you back on. I'm so pleased you turned your life around. Respect to you, brother. And once again, big shout out to Yami B for introducing us.
All right then, my bro.
Take care, bro. Bye-bye.
All right.